Chosen ones, have you ever walked into a room and felt something shift? Like the temperature dropped 10 degrees, like the air suddenly got heavier. People glance at you, then quickly look away. Their posture tightens. Their laughter dies mid-sentence. And your name? It isn't spoken. It's like saying it out loud might invite something too real to handle. That's not paranoia. That's spiritual presence. In today's world, authenticity is rare, and when you carry a divine frequency, you shake the very illusions people cling to. Most folks don't fear you because of what you do. They fear you because of what you walk in truth. You don't follow trends, seek applause, or bow to manipulation. Your refusal to blend in becomes a loud rebellion to those living a lie, and without even trying, you've earned a reputation, not for chaos, but for clarity, for truth, and for power that doesn't have to scream to be heard. There's a science behind this too. Psychologists call it when someone with high self-awareness enters a space, others feel it. Studies show that individuals with intense eye contact, confident posture, and emotional regulation create a measurable shift in social dynamics. That's you. You're not just present, and spiritually speaking, when a chosen one walks into a room, they don't just carry themselves, they carry the weight of their calling. That weight exposes what others try to hide. Your peace convicts the restless. Your silence amplifies their internal noise. It's not arrogance, it's resonance. Let's not forget the story of Jesus walking through towns and demons, crying out just from he didn't have to say a word. Light exposes darkness without effort, without warning. And you, chosen one, are a modern echo of that truth. People sense your mission before you speak it. Your energy shifts atmospheres. Your stillness commands attention. It's no wonder they call you intimidating, mysterious, or too intense. That's code for asterisk, I feel seen and I don't know how to handle it. So no, you're not imagining it. The room does change when you walk in, and by the end of this video, you'll understand why your mere existence is a message from God, loud, clear, and unstoppable. Let's get into it. Point 1. Your energy calls out people's demons. Have you ever noticed how certain people start to squirm around you for no clear reason? You walk into the room, say nothing special, just exist, and suddenly someone's avoiding eye contact, fumbling their words, or firing off passive-aggressive comments like you're in a silent showdown. Let's be real, it's not because of anything you did, it's because of who you are. When you're a chosen one, you carry a frequency that's hard to fake and impossible to ignore. Your energy is pure, not because you're perfect, but because you're aligned. You've faced your shadows, done the inner work, and wrestled with demons most people pretend don't even exist, and that shows. Whether you mean to or not, you walk into a space and become a spiritual mirror. And trust me, mirrors make people nervous when they've been lying to themselves. See, in a world where masks are the fashion statement of choice, someone who's real is downright intimidating. You're not performing. You're not trying to impress. You're not bending over backward to fit in. And that authenticity, it sends shockwaves through people who've built their entire identities on illusions. The ones with skeletons stacked high in their closets, they start to feel like the walls are closing in. Because when they look at you, they're not just seeing your light, they're seeing everything they've been trying to hide in their own darkness. That's why they gossip, that's why they roll their eyes behind your back, that's why they try to tear down your character when you haven't done a thing wrong. You didn't expose them, your presence did, just your vibe, your calm, your refusal to compromise your values. You didn't ask for this role, but like a lighthouse in a storm, you don't get to choose who your light reaches. And some people, they'd rather curse the light than confront their own storm. What's wild is that your silence speaks louder than their noise. While they're busy plotting narratives to protect their egos, you're elevating, evolving, and expanding. And guess what? They see that too. They may not admit it, but deep down they know you're the real one. That's why they keep your name in their mouths. It's a nervous reaction to being spiritually outclassed. But don't let it harden you. Don't let their bitterness bleed into your spirit. As tempting as it is to clap back or clear the air, remember this: God is using you as a living lesson, not just for your growth, but for theirs. Sometimes the way people treat you is less about you and more about what they refuse to face within themselves. And in His divine strategy, God allows your presence to stir their conscience. Your light confronts their darkness without a single word. And that discomfort, that's not your burden. That's their opportunity for transformation. So no, they're not laughing anymore. Not now that they realize you saw through them the entire time and chose to stay gracious anyway. That kind of self-control is terrifying to people who only know power through manipulation. You operate on a different level, a higher frequency. And while they're stuck playing checkers, you're out here mastering chess. Let them sit with their regret. Let them wrestle with the weight of their choices. Meanwhile, you rise. Not out of spite, not out of pride, but out of purpose. You were never meant to shrink for their comfort. You were meant to shine. Keep doing that. Quietly, boldly, unapologetically, because the truth is, your existence alone is a sermon, and some folks just aren't ready for that level of truth. Point 2, you're untouchable, and that drives people mad. Let's be real, people didn't just quietly doubt you. They launched full-scale campaigns against you, complete with whispers, manipulation, and backdoor plots. Some of them even smiled to your face while planting traps behind your back. Others sent snakes slithering into your life disguised as opportunities, relationships, and support systems. These weren't just ordinary setbacks. They were spiritual ambushes dressed in familiar clothing, and yes, there were moments you almost caved. Let's not sugarcoat it. You questioned yourself, you battled anxiety, you laid awake at night wondering if you were strong enough to keep standing. But the fact that you're still here, still breathing, still fighting, that's proof enough that something bigger than you was holding you up. That something was God. And he didn't just watch from a distance, he stepped in, he reinforced you when your knees buckled, he hardened your spirit where it needed to be firm and softened your heart where it needed to stay open. What your enemies meant for destruction, he turned into development. What was sent to break you, he repurposed to build you. That's divine paradox at work, the kind of power that turns wounds into wisdom and betrayal into blueprints for destiny. It's what theologians call redemptive suffering, a concept rooted in Romans 8:28. All things work together for the good of those who love God. Not some things, all things, including the lies, the heartbreak, and the sabotage. The truth is, you were never fighting alone. That glow people see on you now, that peace that can't be shaken, that ability to stay silent while others spiral, that's not just resilience, it's evidence. Evidence that you're covered, because when you walk with God, you don't need to clap back. Your survival, the clap back. Your elevation, the announcement. It makes sense now why they can't look you in the eye anymore. They thought you'd be gone by now. But instead, you've become someone they can't explain. Someone who's unfazed, unbothered, and unreachable, not because you're arrogant, but because you're anointed. See, here's what your enemies misunderstood. Being quiet doesn't mean being weak. In fact, silence is a spiritual weapon. Jesus himself was silent before Pilate, not out of fear, but out of divine strategy. There's power in restraint, power in knowing when to speak and when to let God speak for you. Your ability to stay composed while chaos raged around you wasn't cowardice, it was wisdom. You've been operating with divine intelligence, not emotional impulse, and nothing confuses your enemies more than someone who refuses to descend to their level. Now, everything they tried is unraveling, the doors they tried to shut, blown wide open, the lies they whispered backfired, the shade they threw only helped you grow. And the best part, you're not bitter. You're not carrying grudges like trophies. You're carrying grace. You're living proof that spiritual maturity isn't about getting revenge, it's about rising above. Isaiah 54:17 says, "No weapon formed against you shall prosper," and you're living that verse out loud. The weapons were formed, they just didn't work, and that's why your name hits different now. When they mention you, it's with a strange mix of awe, confusion, and maybe even regret, because your name isn't just an identity anymore, it's a story, a walking miracle, a testimony wrapped in favor. And while they try to make sense of how you made it out of everything they sent to break you, you're busy planting seeds, building peace, and walking in purpose, not because you're lucky, but because you're chosen. So let them wonder, let them whisper, you've got a life to live and a light to carry. And no force on this earth can extinguish what God himself has lit. Keep rising, keep glowing, because your life is the answer to every attack they launched. And your presence is the proof that divine covering is real. Point 3, you know too much. Chosen ones, there's something profound that you carry, something no Ivy League degree, gold-plated trophy, or prestigious title can replicate. It's called spiritual intelligence. Unlike intellectual knowledge, which is gained through books, teachers, and experiences, spiritual intelligence is not learned. It's a divine inheritance hardwired into your very soul. It's the internal compass that allows you to sense the truth in a world drowning in deception. Researchers often speak of empathic accuracy, the ability to intuit others' emotions and intentions, but what you possess goes beyond psychology. It's a spiritual radar system, constantly scanning frequencies, sensing alignment, and detecting lies without a word ever being spoken. This isn't superstition, it's divine design. And while most people rely on what you rely on what you. You don't just walk into rooms, you shift the atmosphere. You don't just hear people, you them. Your spiritual receptors are so finely tuned that even a whisper of inauthenticity sets off alarms. While others are dazzled by charm and appearances, you're reading undercurrents, decoding energies, and picking up on what's being said. This level of discernment terrifies people, especially those who thrive on manipulation and masks. Your presence disrupts their illusions. Liars feel exposed around you. Manipulators lose control. Insecure people feel mirrored by you because your energy reflects what they try so hard to hide. And here's the thing. You don't even have to say a word. Your silence alone, calm, steady, unshaken, acts like a mirror that reflects hidden motives. That quiet look you give, it's like a spiritual X-ray. It slices through the fake smiles, the false narratives, and the hidden envy. That's why some people trip over their words or get uncomfortable around you. They know you them, not just their face, but their soul. And that is something they can't fake their way through. You were wired this way for a reason. This isn't about having a cool gift. This is about divine protection. Your discernment is not for drama, it's for direction. God gave you insight not to be suspicious of everyone, but to guide you through a world built on illusions. That's why you can feel unease in your spirit before someone even shows their true colors. That's why you avoid places or people without always knowing why, because your soul already picked up what your mind hasn't caught yet. And when people say you're too much, too sensitive, or too intense, what they really mean is your clarity reveals their chaos. Your peace highlights their pretense. Your sensitivity exposes their secrets. Now, let's bring in some science. Studies from emotional intelligence research confirm that individuals with high empathic accuracy often make others uncomfortable, not because they're wrong, but because they force others to confront what they'd rather ignore. Now imagine that, multiplied by spiritual depth. You're not just reading expressions, you're reading energy signatures. That's why your presence is magnetic to the sincere and repellent to the deceptive. You're a spiritual truth serum in human form. And here's the kicker. Many of those who once dismissed or mocked you are now waking up to a sobering reality. You all along. You sensed the jealousy. You felt the betrayal before it happened. You saw the shift in energy even before words turned cold, and you didn't need to fight, scream, or prove anything. You just kept your peace. And now, your peace is louder than any confrontation ever could be. Your silence became their conviction. Your growth became their reminder. And your glow? It's the proof that God's hand has always been on you. But here's your task. Don't let their discomfort make you dim your light. Don't shrink to fit into places you've outgrown. Don't question your discernment just because others can't handle it. Bitterness and pettiness are not your assignment. Elevation is. You were chosen not because you're better, but because you're. That calling comes with vision. It comes with spiritual accuracy, and not everyone will get it because they were never meant to. They were just meant to witness what God does through someone who sees clearly in a world built on pretending. So keep scanning, keep sensing, keep rising. The world needs your gift, even if it doesn't understand it. One of the most haunting realizations for someone who once tried to destroy you is the moment they realize they no longer have access to you. No more updates on your life, no emotional outbursts they can provoke, no final argument or dramatic closing chapter to satisfy their ego, just silence. And silence, contrary to what many think, is not empty. It's a thunderclap in the soul. It echoes louder than any shouted goodbye, more powerful than any slammed door. When you vanish without a trace, without a word of explanation or a plea for understanding, it leaves them in a psychological freefall. Why? Because they're no longer battling you, they're battling themselves. You've removed yourself as their emotional punching bag, their manipulation toy, or their source of chaos. And now, all they're left with is the mirror. And that reflection, it's often too much to bear. What makes this more potent is that you didn't vanish because you were lost. You went ghost because you were growing, quietly, intentionally, spiritually. You are evolving into the version of yourself that doesn't need to prove anything anymore. People who once saw your pain now have to witness your progress only from a distance. That unsettles them. It unravels the narrative they told themselves, that you were weak, broken, and dependent. But now you're unavailable. And that unavailability isn't rudeness, it's resurrection. You outgrew the battlefield. And that kind of growth done silently and without applause is one of the most unnerving things to those who once thrived off your wounds. From a psychological standpoint, this shift hits deep. Behavioral studies reveal that humans are deeply uncomfortable with unpredictability, known as the ambiguity effect. People naturally avoid the unknown. When they can't predict your next move, they feel threatened, not by what you might do, but by what they can no longer control. That's what your silence does. It disrupts their sense of dominance. They can't manipulate guilt or spin the story anymore. You've rewritten the script and left them out of the cast. And while the world screams for attention, you quietly chose evolution. You stopped reacting and started healing. And here's the truth, chosen ones understand, closure is a myth when it comes from broken people. Real closure comes from the divine, from God himself. When the one who created you begins to restore you, you lose the urge to retaliate. You don't seek revenge, you seek renewal. Your silence isn't passive, it's spiritual. It's a declaration that you've left the noise behind and embraced a higher calling, and that's why it terrifies them. Because while they expected a fight, you gave them something far more unsettling: absence. And in that absence, their lesson is born. They scroll through old messages, revisit old memories, wonder what went wrong. But you've already moved on, not because you hate them, but because you love yourself enough to heal without them. Your glow up didn't come from proving them wrong. It came from choosing what's right. And the scariest part? You're still rising, silently, powerfully. And they're no longer part of the story. Point 5. Your name holds spiritual weight. Let's talk about that name of yours. Not your nickname, not what they called you behind your back, but your name. The one with power in it. The one they whisper now with caution, or perhaps admiration, maybe even regret. See, your name ain't just syllables floating through air. It's not just some combo of vowels and consonants that get scribbled on mail or ID cards. No, your name is an experience. It's a memory, a testimony, a spiritual fingerprint. Every time someone utters it, they summon a whole legacy. Because what they remember isn't just who you were, but how you were. They remember how you walked away, not in bitterness, but in boldness. Not with drama, but with dignity. You didn't stomp or scream when you were disrespected. You rose, slow and steady like royalty leaving a cheap gathering. You exited the situation with your head high and your peace intact. That shook them. And it left an impression. They remember how their lies didn't ruin you, how they plotted behind your back, expecting you to fall apart, and instead you flourished. Like a flower blooming in concrete, you proved that truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. It just outlasts the noise. They watched you thrive where others would have broken. They saw you glow through gossip, smile through sabotage, and evolve through every attempt to bring you down. And let's not forget your presence. Even when they tried to dim your light or play it cool like you didn't matter, your energy still shifted the atmosphere. You could walk into a room and not say a word, and still the vibe changed. People straightened up, conversations paused. Eyes followed. That wasn't coincidence, that was calling. You've always carried something sacred, and those with spiritual eyesight saw it before you even knew how to define it. But here's the most divine part. You don't even have to be in the room for your name to do the work now. Your name is like thunder that rolls long after the lightning strikes, because when God anoints someone, he doesn't just bless their walk, he blesses their reputation. Your name is echoing in rooms your feet haven't stepped into yet. It's being mentioned in decisions, in prayers, and in plans you haven't even heard about. That's a favor, that's divine strategy. In fact, the Bible is full of examples where names outlive circumstances. David wasn't in the palace when they started whispering about him as king. Esther's name was spoken in royal corridors long before she entered them. And Jesus? Oh, his name still shifts atmospheres thousands of years later. When God puts something on your name, no one can take it off. So yes, people will try to attach lies to it. They'll try to reshape the narrative. But truth has a way of surviving all spin. People who once mocked you now hesitate before they speak. Those who doubted you now observe in silence, because deep down they know you weren't just passing through. You were planting seeds, building a legacy, and leaving an impact. And don't think this is about ego. This is about legacy. It's about walking so aligned with purpose that your name becomes shorthand for excellence, integrity, and transformation. Your name becomes a mirror, reflecting the God who carried you, the storms you survived, and the wisdom you gained. So the next time someone says your name, let it ring with every ounce of power it carries. Let it remind them of your resilience. Let it echo with the silence of your strength. Let it roar without noise, whisper with purpose, and linger like a blessing, because your name is anointed, and it's already walking ahead of you, paving paths your soul is destined to walk. Point 6. You stay mysterious on purpose. In a world where oversharing has become the norm, where people post their breakfast heartbreaks and even breakdowns for likes and validation, choosing to remain private isn't just unusual, it's powerful. You ain't hiding, you're guarded. And that difference, it changes everything. See, hiding implies fear, shame, or avoidance. Guarded, that's intentional, that's strength. That's the decision to protect your peace, your path, and your power from those who haven't earned access to it. And let's not overlook the effect this has on people. That mystery, it drives them absolutely crazy. Why? Because human beings are naturally curious creatures. Psychologists call it the information gap theory. When people sense there's something they don't know, they become obsessed with filling in the blanks. So when you don't reveal your every move, it creates an irresistible tension. People lean in. They start watching, speculating, guessing. And while they're busy trying to figure you out, you're steadily building, improving, and leveling up behind the scenes. Let's be real, mystery is magnetic. It's the reason we binge-watch crime documentaries, read novels late into the night, or analyze someone's social media like it's a CIA file. We want to know. So when you walk into a room with quiet confidence, unbothered energy, and no need to explain yourself, people notice. You don't need to be loud, you don't need to prove anything. Your silence says, I'm doing something worth protecting, and that unsettles those who thrive on access and control. In fact, your silence is often mistaken for arrogance or secrecy. But that's a projection. What they're really saying is, why won't you let me in? Why can't I read you? But mystery forces people to respect what they can't understand. When they can't figure you out, they can't box you in either. That's when they start respecting boundaries they don't even fully comprehend. There's also a psychological edge to moving in silence. It's called strategic ambiguity, a concept often used in business and politics. By not revealing everything up front, you keep control of the narrative. You prevent premature judgment. You maintain flexibility, and most importantly, you avoid giving your power away. Your success then becomes undeniable, not because you talked about it, but because you delivered. And oh, when does success finally make the noise? It's thunderous. It silences doubt, envy, and mockery. People who once whispered about you now watch in awe, realizing that while they were busy running their mouths, you were writing your legacy. There's no need to clap back, to argue, or to explain. Your results are the response. Your achievements speak a language louder than gossip ever could. But let's not pretend this doesn't intimidate people. It does. In a world addicted to attention, your restraint is rebellious. Your decision to protect your energy rather than perform for the crowd is radical. And people fear what they can't control. They call it antisocial, cold, or distant. But what it really is wise. You understand that not every thought deserves an audience, and not every moment needs a witness. Remaining low-key doesn't mean you're absent. It means you're selective. You're not here for performance. You're here for purpose. You don't need to parade your process to validate your progress. And the beauty is, when you do show up, people listen. Because you speak less, your words weigh more. Because you share less, your presence hits harder. So keep your circle tight. Keep your plans quieter than your prayers. Let your actions echo louder than any announcement ever could. In a world of noise, your silence is golden. Your mystery, it's not a flaw, it's your power. Point 7, you're walking in God's purpose. When you walk with divine purpose, you don't just go with the flow, you disturb it. You shake up systems, rattle comfort zones, and send shockwaves through the invisible realms. Simple. You become a living contradiction to everything this broken world tries to normalize. Apathy, deception, mediocrity, and spiritual numbness. That's not a coincidence. That's warfare. Divine purpose is not passive, it's disruptive. It's not about being loud, it's about being aligned. And when you are aligned with heaven, hell gets nervous. Let's unpack that a bit. The moment you choose to live on purpose, not just exist, not just survive, but really live with intention and spiritual clarity, you become a threat to every dark force that thrives on confusion and chaos. You become a walking wake-up call. People who have built their lives around lies, control, and fear will suddenly see you as dangerous, not because you've harmed them, but because your very presence exposes their lack of authenticity. You become living proof that it's possible to live boldly, obediently, and unapologetically in truth. That kind of light exposes a lot of shadows. That's why they fear you. According to psychological studies, people often reject or resent those who embody traits they secretly wish they had the courage to develop. It's called projective identification. They project their internal conflicts onto you. Your discipline convicts their laziness. Your peace unsettles their inner turmoil. Your clarity makes their confusion louder. You walk into a room and without saying a word, you hold up a mirror to their spiritual disobedience. You didn't ask for this power, but divine purpose carries it naturally. The real problem? You can't be bought. You're not swayed by popularity trends or fake applause. You don't play their games. You don't need the validation of a broken system because you were called by something higher. You've seen too much, felt too much, and grown too much to shrink now. You're not loud for attention. You're bold because the truth requires it. And that makes you dangerous to anyone still trying to manipulate, control, or deceive. And here's the twist. While they're busy trying to bring you down, they're actually being used by God to lift you up. Yes, even your enemies become unwilling teachers. They sharpen your discernment, increase your resilience, and train your spirit in ways comfort never could. Romans 8:28 says, "All things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose." That includes betrayal, rejection, and opposition. God doesn't waste pain. He repurposes it. So, while they sit with their regret, their confusion, and their missed opportunities, you rise. Not with bitterness, but with better vision. Not with vengeance, but with divine velocity. You walk in power because you walk in purpose. And when that purpose is heaven assigned, nothing on earth or below it can derail your destiny, chosen ones. Let them whisper and wonder because your presence unsettles what's false and fragile. When they stutter at the mention of your name, it's not fear of you, it's fear of the truth you carry. You are a living symbol that God still anoints warriors in a world that celebrates comfort. You walk with the authority of light in dark places, a peaceful storm that disrupts chaos. This divine energy, real, undeniable, and powerful, makes even the strongest uneasy. Your reputation isn't built on noise, but on divine impact. Stay vigilant, stay chosen, and let heaven's weight continue to shake the earth.